NFL for you to look at that stylistically and say, oh, yeah, I see what he's talking about. It's there. It's a style of play. It doesn't mean that Cam Ward is going to be Patrick Mahomes in the NFL. It doesn't, I mean, it has no guarantee that he will be any kind of a success in the NFL. But what you see when you watch that player is a stylistic approach that reminds you of Patrick Mahomes, whether it's at Texas Tech or in the NFL, the way that Mahomes plays the game. And obviously Mahomes in year what? 7? 8? Are we in year 7 for Pat?
8.
Okay, in year 8 is a much more refined player than he was when he came out of Texas Tech, when he sat the bench for a year with the Chiefs, and then when he became the full-time starter. And Pat continues to elevate his game, which is one of the scarier things in the NFL, that he's getting better. We have no idea what Cam Ward's NFL trajectory will be, but I have zero issue with comparing Cam Ward to Patrick Mahomes stylistically because, yeah, there are plenty of things that are reminiscent of how Pat plays quarterback without getting into all the high-level traits that Patrick Mahomes also brought that would probably make him a higher-level prospect if they were both in the same draft.
So what, you don't like the McNair comp because of just the emotional tie there to Titans fans?
It's too much.
Yeah, but like...
He hasn't...
Nate Tice isn't...
No, I know.
Factoring that in. Like, if that's who he reminds draft experts of, that's who he reminds them of.
Sure.
Like, it just is what it is.
No,
it just happens to be that the team McNair played for most of his career has the number 1 pick.
But of course, you see what Nate is talking about when he talks about, again, the stylistic approach that Cam does things to a certain extent. There are things there that McNair did too, for sure. I don't like what happened after the fact, which is where you have a bunch of Titans fan Twitter accounts making hype videos about the heir to Steve McNair. Like that kind of stuff that is born naturally out of a Steve McNair comparison for a likely Titans quarterback with the number 1 overall pick. I can't stand it.
It's what fans do, and it will have no bearing on whether or not he succeeds as an NFL quarterback or as the Titans quarterback. So for me, it's not that deep. Like, even, I grew up a Titans fan. I'm born in Nashville. Like, even I get like that nostalgic like tinge to the McNair comparison. Like, it's hard for me not to drift over to that side of the line and start to think about how cool that would be for the Titans to draft the guy that reminds draft experts of Steve McNair.
Sure, Lucas, and I'm not trying to take that from you, but like the extremes, extremes in anything, and the extremes that are being done with Cam Ward, quote unquote, the savior, because a number 1 overall pick at the quarterback position represents the most elusive thing in the world, which is you chasing the hope and the joy and the dream of, oh, this can be our solution for 8 to 10 years. Oh, he's got it. Oh, he's Steve McNair. Oh my God. It incites a level of extremeness that I just don't want. But I understand. I completely
But comparing him to maybe the greatest quarterback we have ever seen in Pat Mahomes, when it's all said and done, is not extreme.
Right, because he's not comparing him to who Pat is now. He's comparing him to the style that he plays the game with.
Okay, and that's not what people are doing with Cam Ward and Steve McNair?
It is, but the extremes, it's inescapable. Lucas, I understand that I'm fighting a losing battle on that. Like, I hate it, but I understand why it exists. There are plenty of things that I hate, even though I understand why it exists. It's like Bert. I hate it, but I understand why it exists.
We get worked up about draft comps every year. Like, it's just what happens, man. It's the draft. Like, it's just what we have to go off of. Certain players will remind us of other players. Is it unfair sometimes? Yes.
Yeah,
it's just the world we're living in.
Until they bring the world crashing down on his head the first time that he doesn't immediately look like Steve McNair. Because that's their fault. And I know I'm yelling at fans or a certain type of fans that do this kind of stuff, but it makes me insane. What Lewis is doing and what Tice are doing are based on their craft, are based on what they do professionally for a living. What is being done on the internet with Cam Ward and Steve McNair after the fact, with people running wild with it, is something that makes me, I hate it.
You've also never been an NFL fan.
No.
So I don't exactly expect you to be able to relate to that emotional connection. It doesn't bother me that much.
Well, I wouldn't say that I'm not I'm a football fan, but I don't have an NFL team.
Like, yeah, you're Rob Lowe with the NFL hat in the stadium.
For sure.
That doesn't bother me, man. Like, the pressure is there. You're the number 1 overall pick. The pressure is there to be the savior of the franchise. What ex-Titans fan is tweeting about, he's the second coming of Steve McNair, has absolutely no bearing on what he's going to do in the NFL. It doesn't just add to the pressure. The pressure already exists. It's already there. Now, the question is, because the Mahomes comp, I, as the uneducated football person, can kind of see the Mahomes comp a little more than I see the McNair comp, right? Just with the off-schedule stuff, which is very much just part of the modern game. And Pat Mahomes exemplifies that. So I can kind of, that's a little more tangible for me, that comparison, though I understand why it's a dangerous comparison to make. The question is, can Brian Callahan harness that the way that Andy Reid,
right,
the greatest, the best active offensive coach in the NFL, one of the greatest of all time, did with Pat Mahomes?
And will the Titans give Brian Callahan enough time to potentially do that? We have no idea.
And the Chiefs had multiple advantages the Titans do not have in that effort. The Chiefs had a good football team. The Chiefs had an Alex Smith to play and win and be competitive and help bring along Pat Mahomes.
And the Titans have the worst roster in football in Brandon Allen.
They don't have either of those things. So it makes it that much more challenging. Can Brian Callahan harness the strengths of Cam Ward and almost the red flags of Cam Ward and turn them into strengths the way Andy Reid kind of did with Pat Mahomes?
The only thing that I would push back on you there is kind of going back to the pressure, because the pressure is there. You're right, regardless. And Cam Ward has answered that question right every time. He said the pressure is there no matter where you get picked, right? Whether you're first overall, whether you're 32nd, whether you go in the second round, or you're Mr. Irrelevant. The pressure is there on you as a professional athlete. But Lucas, I'm telling you, I think you know this, it is so much worse in the social media era. It is so much worse, and especially for a generation of players that is, you want to talk about the pressure being there and a player collapsing under pressure. Look at Will Levis. And I know that that the mental makeup is not theoretically the same, even though we can't, literally look at what goes on in their minds. But I saw a player collapse under significant pressure last year, and he's not the number one overall pick, but they spent $228 million around him as if he was the future of the franchise. The owner mentioned him in her statement when she fired a coach, and then he didn't deliver. So Levis is an extreme example, but it also just happened here. So I don't know how you can say that the pressure is there regardless, and I'm not worried about how he handles the pressure when the pressure just caved the quarterback's head in.
Oh, I am worried. Of course I'm worried about how he handles the pressure. I'm saying that whatever Titans fans are saying on Twitter about Steve McNair doesn't add more pressure. He's the number one overall pick.
That's true.
No, the weight of the world's on him anyway. He's the number one overall pick. Like, that's what's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back of him collapsing under the pressure is, the Steve McNair comp. He's the number one overall pick in the draft. He's looked at as a savior no matter what.
Do you think Treylon Burks is affected by the pressure of the A.J. Brown trade?
I have no idea. No idea. Of course I'm worried about how the player's going to respond to pressure. That's what defines a great quarterback. Of course I'm worried about that.
I understand what you're saying, but you cannot dismiss it in the same sense when we often talk about how that is going to follow Treylon Burks for the rest of his career. And yes, in some small part of Treylon Burks' mind, he probably still thinks about that on a frequent basis. Having the specter of the greatest quarterback or the most accomplished quarterback in the Titans era of football, hovering over everything that you do posthumously, is a crazy amount of pressure to add into an already highly pressurized situation. I'm not nearly as dismissive of that as you seem to be.
To me, it's like a pot of boiling water. Like, the water's already boiling. Adding more hot water into the pot of boiling water doesn't make it any hotter.
No,
or make
but it makes
more
it boil over the top. What are you talking about?
I do feel like it puts unreal expectations on the people watching him. Maybe not necessarily the pressure on him, but the pressure by the fans to be like, he didn't have X amount of yards, or he didn't have X amount of touchdowns, or we only did this. Like, if he has,
you think Treylon Burks is unaware of A.J. Brown has one more Super Bowl appearance than Treylon Burks has touchdowns? Like, those things exist everywhere.
Sure, but like, I really think it's the conversation around them, too, that can be affected. How we talk about them. Those are the expectations that I think are manageable. What their expectations are unmanageable. That's themselves. But the expectations that we put on them, the media puts on them, outside exterior forces put on them, that is what is manageable.
And I have no doubt that he's probably not feeling that to the extent that he is. Because if I'm Cam Ward, I'm thinking, no, I'm not Patrick Mahomes or Sam Darnold or who else has he been compared to? Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray, taller, slower Kyler Murray or Steve McNair. I'm Cam Ward. And I'm, a player of a certain generation. I mean, how has Cam Ward ever, other than YouTube, seen Steve McNair? I'm sure he's
probably not.
Right. So like this, he is one of. I mean, he's from Texas, so Houston Oilers. There's probably some level of connection there. And I'm sure he's aware of the history. But maybe to Bert's point, the rate at which it is discussed and brought up and that he's asked about it can further fuel that, where it probably doesn't really factor into his thinking at this point in time.
How about this? The Titans are doing a contest where if you correctly guess the Titans' first pick in the 2025 NFL Draft presented by SeatGeek, you could win 4 tickets to the Titans 2025 home opener and 4 pregame field passes.
Well, that just means they're still trying to give away reasons for people to show up to these games.
Who could it be?
Did you see Jimmy's last mock draft roundup? It's just 32 Cam Wards.
100%.
615-737-1045. We'll take your phone calls next. We'll also talk about which team is most likely to draft a quarterback when they don't necessarily need one. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
We've got the trucks, all the trims, all the towing, all the bells and whistles, and all at Truck Month Savings. Two Rivers Ford is Ford Truck Central.
It is lunchtime. My mouth is watering. My foot is tapping as I look up at the clock, thinking about what I'm going to go get for lunch.
One foot that works.
It is the right foot that's tapping. The other one is currently immobile. But I would never lead you astray when it comes to food. And I'm telling you, Hattie B's needs to be your spot. The factory at Franklin, Lower Broadway, Melrose, Midtown, Nashville West, even the Nashville airport. They've got you covered at basically every corner of town. Hattie B's is a family-run restaurant. It serves up your favorite Southern food in authentic Nashville hot chicken, hand-breaded, cooked to order. Add your spice level. Go with the Southern, which is basically just fried chicken, mild, medium, hot, all the way up to shut the cluck up, whatever works for you, and pick your favorite side. They have got the best in town. If you're like me, the sides are very important. Hattie B's knows that too. Download the app today. You get a free dessert just by doing so, whether it's the banana pudding, the peach cobbler. You can't go wrong. And go to HattieB.com if you want to order for pickup or delivery. Skip the line, walk in, grab your Hattie B's famous hot chicken, and head back to the office and go to Hattie B's today.
Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Best hot chicken in the world. There's no really close to second place. It's Hattie B's or nothing. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to jump in, we'd be happy to have you. F&M Bank Chat also at your disposal. We were just talking about Cam Ward draft comps. We talked about it with Todd McShay yesterday. Louis Riddick then went on national television and said he sees elements of Patrick Mahomes' style to Cam Ward's game. Not that he is the same prospect or will be the same player. I think that is important for people to be discerning. Of course, people are not. And so the internet ran wild with Louis Riddick saying on national TV that Cam Ward is Patrick Mahomes, which is, of course, not what he said. But as we talk about teams who desperately need quarterbacks, i.e. the Tennessee Titans, we are going to get into a conversation about which team is most likely to draft a quarterback when they really don't need one at this point in time. But before we get to that and hear some more audio from Louis Riddick, let's go to Darrington up next.
Man, I was just listening to y'all conversation. You were talking about Steve McNair. First of all, I want to say, hey, one of the most scariest things is being on I-65 on the interstate doing 75, and you got a wall trapped in your car and it doesn't want to go anywhere but near you. That has to be the most scariest thing in the world. But I digress.
I hope you're well.
Next thing. Yeah. So we ain't talking about Steve McNair. Are they doing this based off of football? Because I don't see that. I don't see none of that at all. And I think a lot of people also kind of poo-poo on McNair and his game and what he was anyway. You want to talk about he got an arm angles and all this. I know somebody else who had arm angles. His name was Johnny Manziel. How'd that turn out? He got a cannon and all that. Hey, they said Baker Mayfield had one of them things. Just because you got a good long arm or whatever, that don't mean you good. What about accuracy? Doesn't that mean anything to anybody anymore? But hey, I guess it's about what they think he can do versus what he actually can do. So if he fails, then what happens next? But I guess we shouldn't speak on those hypotheticals. Maybe because I'm just such a Shador guy. Maybe that's what it is. But hey, I just thought I'd listen to your take on that. Hey, y'all guys have a great one.
You too. And I hope you get that wasp out of your car. Do you see what happened to Dawn?
Oh my God! I was going to wait until before the polls.
Okay, we'll wait. That's fine. That's fine. We're going to see Dawn later. We have a meeting at 1 o'clock of which me and Dawn are involved in. So
I am not laughing at her pain. I'm just laughing at the circumstance.
I am laughing at her. It is very funny what happened to Dawn Davenport, and we will make fun of her in person in just about 25 minutes.
You know what else is funny?
What?
Jay Leno.
Oh, my God.
With very special guest Arsenio Hall coming to the Ryman for the first time ever this Saturday. Sign up for a chance to win tickets at 1045thezone.com. Only 2 days left.
Cam Ward is also accurate. If you cite Baker Mayfield as not being a good quarterback, Baker Mayfield just came off a career season that would be the best season a Titans-era quarterback has ever had. If Cam Ward just, at any point in his career, puts up a season like Baker Mayfield, he will have the statistically best season that a Titans-era quarterback in, 27 years of Titans football that a Titans quarterback has ever had. So I think that there are some things that are missing. The context from that call is missing, but I do understand what he's saying about, certain things. Again, it's not a one-to-one comparison. You don't look at one player and say, that guy's Steve McNair, or he will be Steve McNair. You say, all right, I see some elements of this player's game that remind me of McNair, Mahomes, Darnold, whomever else, and then you go about it individually. That's why Todd McShay brought up yesterday. He doesn't like draft comps for quarterbacks. He thinks it's such a unique position that for him, you almost have to take them singularly, even though, as you watch them, you may say, "Oh, yeah, I've seen something that looks like that before," and I see how people could have drawn that conclusion.
And there's probably no single position in football that's evolved more than the quarterback position over the years, right? Like offenses have evolved with the quarterback position, and maybe that's a part of it. Steve McNair was ahead of his time coming out of Alcorn State,
and Cam Ward is not one of these assembly line, Elite 11 from 2 years old type of quarterbacks who we have seen churn and burn through the NFL and through college football. He's a different kind of player that came up in a different kind of way, was a wing T quarterback, and then had to develop on the fly and developed nicely at Incarnate Word, to Wazoo, to Miami, to where he is now the career touchdown leader in college football.
It's probably the thing I like about him most is that every time the difficulty level went up
Yes.
He only continued to improve and develop his game. Although I guess you really could argue that he was playing in a better conference his last year at Washington State than he was at Miami, and he was playing better defenses. There's a real argument for that with how good Washington and Oregon were, but just every time the level of competition stepped up, he stepped up with it, which, to be fair, the same could be said for Shedeur Sanders.
Yes. So, speaking of Shedeur, quarterbacks, or teams rather, who would be most likely to draft a quarterback when they don't need one. So as you look at the NFL draft order at this point, and you get outside the top 5. So the top 5 right now, Tennessee, Cleveland, the Giants, the Patriots, and the Jags. 3 of those teams need quarterbacks. 2 quarterbacks feasibly could go in that top 5, although it would be, I think, at this point, we would be surprised to see Shedeur go top 5, yeah? With the Giants' current quarterback configuration, with the Browns' interest in Travis Hunter, with Abdul Carter and Will Campbell likely going somewhere in between there with the Giants and the Patriots.
Is it a cop-out to say that almost nothing will surprise me with Shedeur at this point? He goes top 5, he falls out of the top 10, he plummets down to the 20s. I don't know that I'll be blind. It feels all on the table for Shedeur Sanders.
So as you look at the NFL draft order and you go outside the obvious of teams who already have settled quarterback situations heading into 2025, but that may not stop them, may not preclude them from drafting a quarterback in the first round this year. Who immediately comes to mind? Bert, you want to start?
Yeah, I can get started. For me, it would be the Seattle Seahawks. They went out, got Sam Darnold on a pretty healthy contract, 3 years, $100 million. But it would not surprise me to add to that quarterback room early, given how non-lucrative that deal is. It is a very acquirable contract. They have an out after the 2026 season. And if you look at the quarterback room behind Sam Darnold, it is Sam Howell, who they acquired from the Commanders. Last year, he played in 2 games, didn't really get a lot of opportunity there despite having a decent rookie year with the Commanders. But he is a free agent after this year. Behind him, Jaron Hall, a nobody from Minnesota, never really panned out, kind of a developmental prospect. It would not surprise me to see them reach out and get a Dart, trade back and get a Milroe, add to that room because of the security that you have in the Darnold contract. If you take a Milroe, you take someone that needs some time to develop, Sam Darnold can provide you a starter who can carry you, keep you competitive, and in the meantime, you bring your developmental quarterback along, and when the time is right, maybe you trade him in. If they're exceptional and they really wow you after their rookie year, and you're like, you know what, let's take the training wheels off, I'm ready to run with this and reap the benefits of a cheap rookie quarterback, I believe you could do that. I believe you would be able to find a suitor for this Sam Darnold contract whose cap hit never gets over $41 million. In 2026, a $33.9 million cap hit. In 2027, a $41.9 million cap hit. If he plays all 17 games, Seattle's competitive. You can't tell me one of these quarterback-needy teams would not want to acquire him. Now, that's based on if the rookie class next year is as large as we expect it to be, but this is about this class. And I think Seattle is primed to take a young quarterback to add to that room.
McShay said yesterday he wouldn't be surprised to see 4 go in the first round.
And the other thing is, when you look at who Seattle is primed to take, you see a lot of Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. You see a lot of tight end talk. You see a lot of interior offensive line talk.
They need that badly.
They do need it badly, and I am not one to disparage guard play. But if you're looking at the hierarchy of value in the NFL draft, tight end and guard pales in comparison to what quarterback really is. So I could see that room saying, yes, Tyler Booker is a great player, but look at that combine workout. Yes, the tight ends look very good at the top of the draft, but could we not find one of those guys on day 2 or day 3? And making an argument for the quarterback, I feel like Seattle can do that.
Last year, the Falcons were this team, right? Drafting a quarterback when they didn't need one. They just gave $180 million to Kirk Cousins. What was their biggest need? Edge rusher. Pretty high value need. They still went with the quarterback. They addressed it in other ways. They added Matt Judon. So I think that is a good submission. And to McShay's point, if 4 quarterbacks go in the first round, Jalen Milroe is a first-round pick.
Yep.
Is it bat bleep crazy insane to think Milroe could hear his name called before Shedeur Sanders?
Depending on the team, no.
Can we hear Louis Riddick talking about this? Shedeur Sanders, the possibility of him plummeting in the draft and how that might actually be a good thing for him?
Shedeur is someone who wants to be collaborative. He is someone that you want to talk with. He doesn't like to be told just, this is the way we're going to do things, and then you're just going to need to fall in line.
Swaggo in here.
And he kind of he's earned that right because of the way he has played. This young man is going to be just fine. And you know what? I hope he doesn't go in the top 3 picks. I hope he doesn't. And I think his camp would tell you the same thing. There are other teams that they want to go to.
He could be in a better situation, obviously, if you fall. And we know how much that matters for a player's trajectory.
So what are those situations that Louis Riddick is talking about outside of Titans, Browns, Giants that could be favorable for a Shedeur? Let's say he still remains in the top 10. I look at Vegas.
Vegas is the one that makes the most sense.
Who gave Geno Smith the extension. You're our quarterback, not just for 2025. We want you around. But who's the backup right now in Vegas? I'm actually asking that. That's not a rhetorical. Aiden O'Connell's still there. That's right. Gardner Minshew's gone. I'm not going to say Aiden O'Connell is just locked in as QB2, that Pete Carroll has to keep Aiden O'Connell on this roster.
Different administration.
And they have needs. Like, it'd be hard to pass up a talent like Ashton Genty with the need you have at running back, sitting there with the 6th overall pick. If Genty is there at 6, which, I think he probably will be. You need receivers. You've got one of the best young tight ends in the league in Brock Bowers, but I don't know. That feels like, and there are ties there with Sanders and the Raiders, that feels like a prime candidate for a team that could draft a quarterback when they don't need one. That would surprise most people.
I'm going to go off the board here because there's a team in the top 15 who is the only team that has an open quarterback competition right now. And
hold on. A team in the top 15 picks of the draft? Mm-hmm. So the Colts.
Yeah. It would be very unlikely, given that they have Anthony Richardson under contract, cost-effective, and now have Daniel Jones in there as outright competition. But if I'm Shane Steichen or Chris Ballard, well, I'm not hitching my wagon to those two. I'm going to give myself options here. I would be willing to consider that because where else? I mean, I don't know Indianapolis's roster top to bottom off the top of my head. I know they've addressed their defense and they've retained a lot of their own folks, and they don't really do much in free agency. And they are a draft, develop, and retain organization. They need a right tackle. So you see this situation with Braden Smith, their right tackle. He's got such crippling OCD that he hasn't been able to play football.
Oh gosh,
it's like that. What was the Eagles guard from the first Super Bowl that had such awful anxiety that he would like throw up during games and stuff like that? I can't remember his name either.
Brandon Brooks.
Yes, thank you. He played for the Texans for a while, then went to Philadelphia. So, and there are a few things about the Chris Ballard regime that has been redeeming because they have not won the division, I think, in the entire time that Chris Ballard has been the general manager there. But they do tend to draft offensive linemen well. They do have needs on the offensive line. They lost Ryan Kelly. I know they have a center who they feel like might be able to slot in, but they could also use reinforcements there. So maybe you take a guard at 14 and it's much ado about nothing. But I don't know. There's something intriguing to me about the idea of the Colts taking a quarterback there and just kind of bailing out as trying to recoup something for Anthony Richardson as well. Who do you think teams would rather take a chance on if they were open and available on the trade market come final roster cuts, Levis or Richardson? It's a tough question.
Richardson.
I would say Richardson.
I
if
would
they're
agree.
both in a position not to have to play football for you and you could kind of put them in a position just to focus on getting better.
Shelf them and let them develop.
Correct.
Although, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely Richardson over Levis.
To your point about their offensive line, they're really banking on the development of two offensive linemen at center and guard that they took last year in the 3rd and 4th round, respectively. I really like Tanner Bartolini, who has kind of slid in as their center for next year. With Wisconsin, played a lot of snaps all over the offensive line there, got to be a sub guy for them last year. But again, when you're banking on second-year offensive linemen, there can be trivial issues with that, especially if you're trying to see how well a quarterback can command the offense.
Yeah, no kidding. So the Colts are an unrealistic one, but if Lucas picked the Raiders and Burt picked the Seahawks, the Steelers, the Rams.
Yeah, those are the two most obvious, right?
What is Goff's contract situation?
I think he's there for a minute, and he has a very high price tag.
Yeah,
I looked
that
at
was
that the other day.
That was last year, right?
Was it last year that he got an extension? Okay, I couldn't remember.
So the other two teams that have quarterbacks on contracts that, like as honorable mentions, if we'd like to say, I think Miami at 13 could be an interesting case.
Depending on Tua's availability, for sure. I thought about Miami. I was between Miami and the Colts and my off-the-wall one.
The thing about Miami is that their roster is old. Their roster is beaten up. All of the big players they've signed, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey, are becoming elder statesmen. They don't have the trade value they had, and they're looking at the face of a New Orleans Saints-esque rebuild where they're going to have to eat a poison pill one year and just say, hell with it. We can't afford it. We're just going to have to go with budget bill signings. I think Miami, and in order to keep good faith with owners, would potentially look at quarterback. But like I said, their roster is so old, they just need to continue to add people. The other team could potentially be Tampa Bay. I don't think that they would try to unseat Baker, but I think that they could use someone to supplement and prepare for the future. They did sign who's their backup from Florida? Kyle Trask. Yeah. Look at my dude back here with all the names. Good looking, Ross. Signed Kyle Trask to an extension this year, but what is a Kyle Trask for you other than a very good backup, right?
Very good
I don't even know if he's that. Yeah.
I mean, I've only seen him in preseason games that I've covered against the Titans, and maybe that was his rookie year. So
Tampa has only signed 2 quarterbacks to second contracts that they have drafted. He is the second, so they must see something they like.
Speaking of Tyreek Hill, you see what happened yesterday? He had another domestic violence call. His wife's filing for divorce.
I did see that. No charges, but yes.
Yeah, well, anyway. All right, we'll make fun of Dawn Davenport next. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is such a valuable resource for guys who have dealt with performance issues, whether you're just getting up there in age and your body starts to change, maybe you've taken pills for a period of time, but after a while, those things may lose their efficacy. If you are somebody who needs help and is dealing with the misconceptions about treatment, call the Tennessee Men's Clinic. They're there to help you before you go to extremes like irreversible surgery to make those corrections. It's all they do at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. They specialize in men's sexual health issues, and they have access to multiple protocols and options to treat ED based on your specific needs and what's going on in your body. So don't trust your health to an online pharmacy and don't feel like you're out of options. We want you to understand all the options when it comes to treating ED. The Tennessee Men's Clinic protocols are patient-centered and customized to your needs. They have treatments for everything from low testosterone, ED, treatments that increase size and stamina, and everything else in between. So schedule an appointment online today at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com for their Franklin or Midtown location, or call them 615-208-9090. All right, so Dawn Davenport had something awful happen to her that is just hilarious. It's truly hilarious, and nobody was harmed in the making of this video that she just posted on Instagram. Is there audio associated with it? I don't know. It's Dawn, so it may not be clean.
That's what I was worried about. In the tweet I saw, or not the tweet, I saw it on Facebook. There was an expletive and a hashtag, and I have not listened to it. I was driving, so I would not feel safe playing it.
So she left the window down in her car last night. And apparently, I mean, she shows the degree to which the window was cracked, and it's just barely. But it's enough for a bird to get in her car. And I guess the bird figured out how to get out of the car at some point, but only after defecating all over Dawn's steering wheel, her seats, her gear shift, her dashboard. This bird, I don't know if it just, had nervous bowels because it couldn't get out of the thing and then just started, doing its thing everywhere in Dawn's car. But it is one of the funniest things that I've ever seen. This bird, I saw Neil Orn, who used to be at Channel 2, comment, that bird ate at the buffet I used to go to.
The fact that it got out, like they never get out. Literally a drive-by, it got in, pooped everywhere, and then found a way out is insane.
Fill up your bird feeder.
I have never...
Like, that feels personal.
I mean, whatever Dawn did to that bird. Maybe Dawn is like me and now has bird feeders around her property, and maybe she forgot to fill up the bird feeder, so the bird took it out on her lovely. It appears Dawn drives an F-150. I did not have Dawn pegged as a truck gal, but she's a Two Rivers Ford gal, so she she got it at Two Rivers Ford.
Was it a truck? I thought it was her SUV.
Either way, it's a Ford.
I would not trust Buck's vehicle identification.
I don't know anything about cars. I know that I drive a Ford, and the Ford that they gave me is an Explorer.
Speaking of Two Rivers Ford, though, I mean, I'm sure they're going to be out there with their mobile detailing service to fix the whole thing up, clean it up for her, and they can do the same for you.
They can do that. Look at that. Look at you. What are you trying to get in on?
Give me some money.
Yeah, you trying to get in on my Two Rivers money? Get out of here, you vulture. Mark's going to be jockeying to be in my next Two Rivers Ford TV commercial.
Yeah, let me jog behind you. See, the problem is, that's what you called me a vulture. That's what I hope poops in your car. I hope one day you leave your window down and a large condor just comes down and decides that's the best place to evacuate its bowels.
Dude, I left my entire window down, both windows down, with everything in my car. I think my laptop bag was in my car, and it was unscathed. Like nothing rained in it. Nothing pooped in it. Nothing stole anything out of it. It was just a dumb me moment. I didn't even bother to park it around the back of my house where I have a gate and a garage opener type situation. I just left it in the street with my windows down, and fortunately nothing happened.
This has happened in my house before. So back in my house in Winston-Salem in North Carolina, I used to leave the windows open for my cats. They like to go up there, sit, watch, and I never expected them to jump out or anything. I come back home one day, walk in, it was like a guest room, walk in the guest room, and there are feathers and bird poop, white stuff just slung all over the walls, and this poor bird is just fluttering what's left of one wing, and my cat terrorized. This bird picked the wrong open window to come in.
Oh, no.
So I had to clean up all these feathers. My cat didn't want me to take the bird away. And now Cheyenne won't let me okay, y'all tell me if this is wrong. For my cat's birthday, I would like to order 2 birds to release in my garage so my cats can harass them, can hunt them, can act out their animal instincts.
That feels cruel.
No.
Cruel? It's what happens in nature. What do you think happens to all the street cats?
The bird can get away in nature, not in your garage, you freak.
That's the beauty of me being a land baron. I get to host these birds, give them a lovely feast. I have plenty of seeds for them to open, and then at night, I would let my
plump them up and then just send them to the slaughter.
I love the noise cats make when they're trying to convince birds that they are also a bird.
That's...
It's like, dude, he doesn't think you're a bird. You're not convincing it. It is the least convincing bird call I've ever heard.
He's like, shut up.
I let Moon out in the yard. I let him out in the yard the other day, and Moon started doing that because I've got bird feeders now. There's a hummingbird feeder that I have up in one of the trees in the backyard. And Moon started doing that and then was visibly pissed off when the bird recognized that, no, you're not a bird. You're something that's trying to eat me, like Sylvester and Tweety Bird.
I love cats with birds, man. I'm going to order them. I don't care what y'all say.
No, we are going to call PETA on you.
Okay, so it's fine with mice then?
Yeah, I don't like mice.
Okay, cool. That's not cruel. I guess they could get out.
Yeah, they probably get out. They have a better chance than the damn bird.
Way better chance.
Unbelievable.
I'll get a mouse and a bird.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Who is your pick to win the Masters? Cristoforo says Rory McIlroy. Karen is going with Scotty Scheffler. A lot of Scotty Schefflers. Tommy is saying Brooks Koepka. A lot of Scotty Schefflers and a couple Rory McIlroys. At this moment, last I checked, Scheffler was shooting up the leaderboard, and he is tied with 3 other golfers, including Colin Morikawa and Justin Rose at the top at 3 under. Scotty Scheffler through 12.
Dawn just texted Bert and me. Clearly, she hates Lucas and said F-150 Platinum UB words.
Is Nico Iamaleava a top 10 quarterback in college football in 2025? 51.7% say no. 48.3% said yes.
I wasn't listening.
Which NFL team with a starting quarterback already in place is most likely to draft one in the top 10? 33.7% say Giants. So that's most votes going to the Giants. 33.1% say Saints at 9. 17% say Jets. 16% say Raiders.
The Raiders got the lowest percentage there?
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. I think the Raiders make too much sense.
I get why the Giants got the highest percentage at number 3 overall. But
yeah, but I don't know. It's just at this point, like, I know that we've talked about them throwing additional resources at the quarterback position, but like not overdrafting Shedeur at 3 to do it if Abdul Carter's there.
Yeah, I mean, what feels like a better situation for Shedeur, going to Vegas where he can sit behind Geno and learn with Tom Brady right there in his ear and Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly as the play caller, or get thrown into the fire with the New York Giants with the Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston QB room. That feels like a recipe for disaster. Whose deal gets done first? TJ Watt or Trey Hendrickson? 72% say TJ Watt gets done before Trey Hendrickson.
The Bengals would be so stupid to let TJ Watt get a deal before Trey Hendrickson does.
I mean, I haven't heard anything on the Trey Hendrickson stuff since he came out and said he hoped that that statement by the Bengals official was an April Fool's joke, when it very much wasn't.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Those are the polls.
All right, very good.
We still got a couple minutes.
Do we have to?
Yeah, what should we talk about?
I don't know. How's your foot?
Terrible. It hurts so bad.
He tried to get himself out of that boot earlier. He was not visible to me. Like, you were your entire body. I thought you were sitting on the ground trying to get this thing onto your swollen, disgusting ankle at this point in time. And then when he reemerged from under the console, he about fell over.
The boot has made it so much more painful.
Yeah, but that's your fault. You ordered an Amazon boot for like $25.
I did.
Oh, okay. I was worried you paid for that yesterday when you got your X-ray. I was like, dude, do not fall into the trap that is modern health.
No, they didn't even try to sell me on anything like that. They were just like, look, just, keep it elevated, keep it iced. It's going to take a few weeks.
You should have checked Facebook Marketplace. When I'm perusing every night before my phone hits my face, I'm always looking at used medical equipment. I've been looking for a wheelchair for you, and I haven't seen one.
I'll wheel around. I'm being told to get an X-ray. I did get an X-ray. Nothing's broken, thankfully.
There is nothing that I would rather do less than peruse Facebook Marketplace.
You're
or
so
engage
wrong.
with people on Facebook Marketplace.
You are wrong, my friend, because I am going to pick up a vintage Marlboro cooler for $25 later today.
That's fine. I'd rather not see the person that you are claiming this Marlboro cooler from.
We're meeting in public. Tried to go to their house, see if they had a fine wife, but they were not into it.
For what purpose?
Just
you trying to see if they got an upside-down pineapple on their front porch, too?
No.
What are you trying to do there?
Just to try to make conversation. Maybe you see them bowling, and you're like, remember when I bought that cooler from your husband? Would you like to smooch?
All right, just remember that when you get trafficked going to pick up some item that you don't need, some $20 hot tub that you tried to get me to buy off Facebook Marketplace.
My mom always told me that if anyone ever stole me, they would bring me back.
That's probably true. Can I go now? Play the music. Have a great rest of your afternoon. We'll do prime time tonight at 7, as is the custom. Check out the show via the podcast. If you missed it, check out the install. See you there.